Hi, I've got a slightly controversial one today because I'm going to suggest that you try a 14 or 30-day fast from news content. Okay, that might be hard for you, but I do think that for your creativity, for your sleep, for your mental headspace, that it's probably something worth at least trying once, and you can make up your mind whether it's good for you or not. Okay, I'm Rolly, and I'm a creative coach and guide, and I help people mostly with corporate jobs, working in tech, who on the side want to be creative, want to indulge their passions in music, writing, art, photography, whatever that looks like for you. And I was talking to somebody last week, and we were in the middle of a coaching call, and they said they got up that morning and they had plans for the day, and they turned on the news in the kitchen, and within 4 minutes, their entire day was ruined. Their head was full of catastrophizing the news that they just heard, and it just kind of spiraled out of control, and they were left feeling really down, really low, lacking energy, not knowing where to start. As they'd started hopeful and bright and seeing the potential of the day, and really quickly it just spiraled out of control. So if you've ever had that experience, you know what I'm talking about. In this video, we're going to unpack a little bit of that. And I could cut to a whole pile of B-roll of stories from the news, all sorts of catastrophes, threats, existential threats from AI, etc., etc. But you're an adult. I trust you know what I'm talking about, and I don't want to bombard you with any overstimulus. Okay, so let's take it as read that you know exactly what I'm talking about. And why I think it's important, and this is coming from my perspective, is that I believe that for us to be creative, for us to put beautiful things out into the world, for us to connect and get into a state of flow, that we need space for our creativity. And if you already have a job, a family, a busy social life, you're trying to stay fit and healthy, and then you're also trying to make space and time for your creativity, that's a lot. So the more things you can claw back and try to get some space, I think it's going to help. Okay, I'm not talking about you kind of being a Zen monk, hiding away from the world. Yeah, I'm just talking about you trying to decompress from the constant overstimulation. I just don't think us as human beings are made for the news on the hour, 24 hours a day, on multiple channels, multiple devices. On every social platform I've been on, a lot of the news ends up there, whether it's shared positively or outrageously. It's there to try and get our attention. And let's not forget that the vast majority of news outlets are businesses. They're there to make money. They're there to seek your attention, and it just feels like more and more over time that they've just had to ramp it up and ramp up the headlines, the how big a story is. They've got to keep going back to it. They've got to keep us hooked because they want to sell space for their advertisers to get into your eyeballs so that they can see if they can extract some money from your ever-shrinking wallet. So now, not all of them are. I'm a big fan of the BBC. Kind of lived in the UK for years and understand that they do have, they're paid as a license fee from the government, and there are other organisations around that, but I think they're few and far between. And I think it's hard for us to combat that, other than being mindful in our use of the news feed. And I just think that there's so many things coming at us, like so many brands, advertising, all of the networks are trying to get us to use our phones more, spend more time on TikTok or Instagram, Twitter. They're trying to hook us in, and they're using all the tools that they can to do that. And I just think that then when we see something like news, and if it's triggering or bad news in some way, like our body responds. Our body doesn't know that that threat isn't immediate, and it pumps us with adrenaline and cortisol, and it starts us into that flight or fight or freeze mentality, and our heart rate goes up. We start to feel a bit cold, or our stomach starts gurgling, because we're being stimulated. And I just don't believe that we're meant to be stimulated like this, day in, day out, hour in, hour out. And I do think that it's helpful for us, particularly if you're trying to find space for creativity, to take some time and understand what the impact is of that for you and whether it's helpful. Okay, so because I believe in this space for creativity, I've actually created a space for creativity starter kit, and there'll be a link in the description and in one of the comments just to say you can get it here. And the first thing that I'll send you is a digital detox. So there's a video explaining things you can do to make your phone less appealing, get away from some of the social apps, and regain some of your time so you can start to focus on things that are important to you, like your well-being, your health, your sleep, spending time with people you love and care about, and also getting space and time for your creativity. So if you'd like to find out more, sign up below and I'll send it to you. And it's in that idea of having space that one of the things we can pull back from and try and reclaim a bit of our sanity is getting away from the chaotic news cycle. And I really do think you could pick 14 days or 30 days and take some time away from it. Now, if you're really invested in a specific topic, I promise you that if you were to find an organization that you knew and trusted and put your money where your mouth was and gave them like a monthly gift or donation, that would do more for them advancing the whatever that issue is than if you're just going to like retweet them or repost their stories, because we're already saturated with the amount of things that we see. But if you were to give them some funds and go, hey, I'm taking 30 days off looking at the news, I'm going to send some money your way because it actually means that much to me. So, and you can choose how you do it. Like you could choose to go, hey, on Sunday, I'm going to buy a couple of papers, read up on what happened during the week. And I promise you that if news you need to hear is destined for you, it'll get to you either way. Now, for example, kind of about a year ago, I got an email from our CEO for the company I used to work at saying, hey, we're all going to jump on a call in an hour. And before I finished reading the email, I knew exactly what that meant. And days later, I was facing redundancy and had to go through a whole process to get there. So the news gets there. And particularly if people know I wouldn't even necessarily go around and announcing it, but things that are going to directly impact you, they'll tell you about, and you'll find out. Because a lot of people have to inform you, but a lot of the news that we hear may not directly impact us because it's on the other side of the world. And I'm not suggesting we just put our heads in the sand. What I am suggesting is that you are intentional and you're not just at the whim of the news network or the news cycle, that you take control for yourself, and just engage that human capacity for thinking and critical thinking and put your energy where you want it to go, into the thing that's important to you, i.e. your creativity. Okay? There's other things you can do as well, like you could look at different types of journalism. So maybe somebody you know and trust writes on somewhere like Substack and you read their news writing and you're able to stay on top of the topics that way, but you choose to do it at a specific time of the day or the week. And you can also use tools like, I believe there's a tool called Ground News. I saw it on a Ben Jordan video, and they offer you news, but they also suggest where it lies in the political spectrum. So you can get a sense of how well researched or whether it's biased or unbiased, and it's giving you a little bit more information on the news that you're taking in. And the reason I'm sharing this is because in 2020, when the global pandemic kicked off, I just couldn't I couldn't handle the volume of news that was coming at me on my phone, on the newspapers, on the radio, on the TV, and I actually had to cut the news off then because I was just feeling overwhelmed and anxious. I wasn't sleeping. It wasn't helping my mental well-being at all. So that's when I kind of stepped back. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't hear about the news and I don't research the things that I care about and I don't support people who are doing good work in good areas. But it does mean that I'm taking control of what comes in to my eyeballs in as much as I can. Okay. I do think that when we see and hear this news and when this reaction starts happening in our body, our perspective narrows in and we start thinking much more kind of singularly visioned, and it's hard for us to think about the expansive nature of creativity, of taking all the ideas and inputs and to put them together into something useful and beautiful. I also think it can just be exhausting. So kind of on the back of the video I made last week, which is about kind of burnout and just feeling tired, I think that it just adds to that sense of emotional exhaustion and the kind of waves that we go through listening to that amount of news and input. Like, really, this has only been happening in the past couple of decades, even hundreds of years. Previously we lived in small communities then there was tiny amounts of news or information, and it happened gradually over time. Big news took a while to get to us, and even then the impact of that mightn't have been felt for years to come. I also think that one of the things that's really important about creative output is being able to get into that kind of flow state. And if you're constantly in flight, or freeze mode, it's really hard to find calm and find focus and find a state where you're able to put energy into something really worthwhile and really deep. And never mind all the distractions we have, and obviously my digital detox tools will help you to remove some of those distractions or at least temper them. But I do think that it's important for us to stay on top of these things. So it was literally just on the back of that conversation I had with the creative last week. I was like, okay, maybe we should just add this in as well. Consider taking a break from the news. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. It might mean that we can't be friends anymore. But hey, I hope you'll at least take it on and consider it from just try it out, try an experiment and see how you get on. See how you feel after 2 weeks or a month of less news, no news, whatever you think is going to work best for you. Okay, if you've stuck around this long, thank you so much. And YouTube is going to recommend another video for you right here. Give that a watch and let me know how you're getting on. Okay, bye.